decision making is a key attribute of leadership. Based on this particular skill, the person is decided if he is a good leader or not. There are a few frameworks, VUCA, BANI, 4C, which we will discuss during this webinar, which will help you with some of the decision skills. Quick background, I have recently attended a leadership session. So many of these points will be coming from that particular session, so that it will help you as well. We will be going through decision skills with some case studies. We will study a framework called 4C, a framework called VUCA, and another framework called BANI. So there is a great saying, whatever the data that you have will say anything that you want if you manipulate it. So it is not possible for decision making just based on data. The challenge is that the data can be biased, it can be filtered, framing bias. It can only tell you what has already happened. And sometimes you analyze it too much and it leads. 4C is a great framework that has been given by visionary Mrs. Annu Bulusu. It has 4 parts: context, compass, courage, and conviction. We will be going through each of these based on some of the case studies. So we will just, I think you must have heard about Kodak, very famous. And also we will also go through Netflix. These two companies, how they have had their decision making right from the top. So you'll be surprised, Kodak has actually invented the first digital camera long back in 1975. But they are not the ones which made it popular. They had films, many of may not be even aware of it now. It's completely obsolete. They continuously tried only to promote their film division. The challenge they feared was that if they switch to digital camera, they will be losing the revenue that they're going to get from um, the film business. So people continuously postponed that particular decision, and they have postponed it so much, finally, film itself, the business itself, nobody washes the negatives anymore, nobody tries to, print on a paper. So they were completely obsolete after this. Netflix, another great model. You can see that there is already a company called Blockbuster, and they were also completely into renting business. They were renting uh, cassettes and CDs, the earlier versions of it. They already went obsolete. Netflix already made sure that they came up with whatever the latest at that time, CDs. But after that as well, they did not just sit on top of their CD business itself. What they have done, once the online business is coming, the internet is coming up, they made sure that they moved on to internet itself, doing the live streaming. Then they have become one of the number one OTTs right now. So this is, in this case study, you can see what is coming up. This is the courage of the leadership. If the leader does not have sufficient courage to take a decision, companies can even go bankrupt completely. They can become obsolete. You may be wondering, this is not related to your family or your small position or the team that you are managing. No, courage matters everywhere. And there is another great study, Clinton versus Trump in 2016. I'm not inclined who is great, who is good. We can keep that aside, and let's just see why Mr. Trump has won in 2016. I'm not talking about the latest 20 elections, but this is the earlier elections. So at that time itself, when Mrs. Clinton has started, she had the complete advantage, and she is actually number one. Even the data was saying that she is going to win. So this is, we are talking about the data part of it, the context part of it. Everything is set in such a way that there is a good chance of she winning this election. But what they have missed out, they missed the direction or the compass part of it. They have the data is right, but they missed the ground level direction, momentum in some of the key states. There were uh, assuming that some of these FBI mails, everything at that time, those are all coming up. This is an earlier election, only few can remember, but they missed the actual mood of the people. And whereas the Trump campaign is able to capture that correctly, they have seen that there is some anger at grassroots, and they're able to use that direction. So sometimes courage is very important, and we also now spoke about the direction part or the compass part of it. And next, let's go to the case study, COVID response. And COVID, as you know, I think many will still be remembering this. A very difficult situation for everybody, very difficult for any leader to make any decision itself, even let it be a house or let it be a country. So, based on the various things, everybody had to take their own decisions. For example, US, uh, they did not take COVID very seriously at the start. There was no unified national strategy. The strategy was left to the states, not from the center. And the priority was, everybody wanted to make sure that the economy is good. But what if the lives itself are not there? Right? So they missed out certain things. Again, not to blame any leadership specifically. This is only case study. These kind of things we will know only after they have happened, and we have to make sure that we learn from the past. So you can see that US, for example, they wanted to preserve the economy, and before they came up with the actual strategy, they have taken too much time. India, for example, had a unified national strategy, direction, everything was right. India made sure that, but Indian medical scenario itself, it is not well prepared. So due to that, even if they took the right direction, they did not have the sufficient help from the local situation. And the third one, most successful, New Zealand, for example, they have wanted to make sure that they wanted to eliminate loss of lives. So that is their primary goal, and they're able to follow this successfully. They implemented a great strategy. Whereas these are various countries, sizes are different. New Zealand is a smaller country; they could have done it. So, but you can see that uh, using the compass, for example, making sure the actual direction or what is your priorities, for example, you can definitely, so priority, in case you make it as economy, it will be one way. If you make that priority as lives, it actually varies. Another great example, there is a great person called Ernest Shackleton. uh, this is a story almost like more than 100 years ago. um, so Mr. Shackleton, he wanted to visit the Antarctic. So he was supposed to be one of the first, but as he went, his ship got stuck, and there was he had to make a decision whether he wanted to be the first person to visit the Antarctic, or should he prioritize the crew and go back. And he decided that he will not lose a single life. He wanted everybody safe and sound. So, this was a they had to trek across almost like 800 miles. This we are talking about 1900s, early 1900s, and they have already taken almost like 2 years to reach. So that it was such a tough situation for him. He did not lose a single life. Everybody survived. And there was a contrast. For example, another great explorer, Mr. Robert Scott, they got stuck as well in the Antarctic uh, ice and snow, but still they wanted to proceed. They did reach, but his entire crew was lost. So the most important thing, you need to have the conviction as well. So this is one framework. We will go to another framework called VUCA framework. So these are all various leadership decisions. How a leader actually have to act. So VUCA is a great framework. This came up by US Army during their Cold War with not the actual war, the Cold War. They have used this extensively in 80s against Russia. So how do you take a decision when the speed of change is very high? For example, let's say you are working in an IT company and the AI disruption is very high. Suddenly, entire technologies is changing. So, what technology will you really learn, or what resource will you hire? What kind of people will you hire? What kind of technologies will you implement? So, there is too much volatility and uncertainty. You can't predict future events anymore. The geopolitics are changing, right? There can be suddenly a new data privacy law some country brings in. Will you navigate that kind of scenario? Or the complexity of the things is going up. There are many factors now interconnected. It's not just one. You try to take one decision, there is challenge from another quarter somewhere. And ambiguity. Nothing is certain anymore. Your client expectations are changing. Everything is changing. So in this scenario, how will you take a decision? So what can actually lead us to? If let's say there is so much of uncertainty, you need to make sure that most important is build redundancy. You need to have backup for everything. Let's say you have a team of 10 people, have particular skills, and let's say that somebody suddenly may resign. He got a better opportunity, he will resign. Let's say you don't have backup, it may take some time before you can hire again another person. What will you do? So it is very important that you need to have an additional person, either senior or junior, already part of the team, so that in case somebody leaves, there can always be a backup. So the one of the challenges in many of the IT companies is they can't, for one position, why will they hire two people, right? But it is very important. Somehow you will have to convince your leadership management. Without that, or you need to raise that this is a risk in case that person leaves. There is going to be this challenge. At least you need to cover yourself, right? So next one is how you need to be very agile. There are various framework, for example, in IT, something called Scrum, Kanban. You know. So it is not possible. Earlier, there used to be a model called waterfall. You freeze everything at the start and you implement the plan exactly as you have done it. But you need to make continuous adjustments to your plans these days. So there are various iterative models. You build something, even if it is flawed, if it is wrong, you still build it. Again, you'll refine it. You refine it second time. You refine it third time. So this is agile Scrum they call it. And communication, most important. You have to make sure that you are continuously implementing, either be family or your company, right? You took a decision. You have to keep that communication continuously going. In case you took a decision in family, communicate with your wife, communicate with your kids, communicate with your parents. Whatever the scenario is, in case it is a company, make sure that you communicate that various stakeholders, your manager, your customer. And most important, explain the rationale. Why you are making this particular decision. You need to explain that. And the challenge in these days is that these are continuously evolving. You take a decision, next day again you need to make another decision, another decision. What to do? You have to continuously communicate and you have to explain the reason why you are having to do that. If you cannot explain the reason, people then don't feel comfortable. If you are explaining it, yes, they understand it. You'll be surprised how understanding people are once you explain the rationale before behind your decision. And another one is continuous learning. You need to learn yourself continuously. You conduct various sessions, brown bag sessions, knowledge sharing sessions. You conduct trainings. You take them yourself. You need to make sure that your team is taking them. They are taking certification. Don't worry. Sometimes people feel that if I train my team, they get trained and they go somewhere else. That people will do that. Some of them will leave, but you cannot, based on that, stop the entire training. Or you have to continuously keep learning, and you need to empower your teams, various team members, so that they can continuously take decisions. If they are dependent on you all the time, that is not the great model. A leader has to be definitely visionary. There are various styles. I know you may be knowing them. There is an authoritarian leader, there is a democratic leader, there is a visionary leader. Visionary leader is somebody who will be able to see things ahead and can show that vision to their team. There is another framework called BANI. So we are talking about change, ambiguity. What if it goes all crazy? What if it is all chaos? We have seen this. We have seen this during the COVID period. And this particular framework actually arrived after the COVID. Great person named Mr. Jemias Casio. He actually built this framework based on the COVID pandemic. So how will you take a decision if things are just truly chaotic? So B stands for brittle. Systems and all, they appear very strong, but if there is a shock, they just fall down. Many companies which seemed very great, they could not stand the COVID. Suddenly they were all out of business. Even individuals who seemed very strong, many could not survive. So how do you deal with these things? Anxious. You are continuously anxious. What will happen? What happens in case uh, there is you lose your job? AI is coming in. So people are continuously anxious. How do you take a decision in this one? Things are non-linear. The effects are disproportionate. You take a decision at one point, the impact is somewhere else. And incomprehensible. Situations are overwhelming. The true meaning itself is impossible to get. So, in this kind of scenario, how do you take a decision? Again, it can be your family, it can be at the level of a small team, it can be at the level of a CEO, it can be level of a government leader. So, this is again a great framework. You will be surprised. What is the solution for this kind of scenarios? This is where right now the world is in this kind of situation. I'll Before I go to the actual solution part, we will talk about specific case study. This is called Project Harem. There is a teenager called Mati in Netherlands. So she just created a post in Facebook inviting people for her birthday. It's just that she forgot to mark it as private, which should be okay actually. And surprisingly, this particular invitation went viral. People started accepting. Thousands of people accepted, and initially nobody suspected anything, and then people started worrying. Everybody was RSVPing, saying that we will be attending your birthday party. And at the time, the city also was worried. Nobody took it serious. If people will attend, this is the city of Haren in the Netherlands. Nobody knew about that city till then. And suddenly, and they change make it private and all that. That's done. Our parents also just gave, saying that don't worry, don't attend. But people started actually attending. So they did come into the city, and it was a riot. Thousands of people came in, and there was no control, and government was overwhelmed. They tried deploying the police, and people got all crazy, and the whole thing is, yeah, it was considered a lesson in management. Now, how do you deal that? See, nobody expected a teenager's invitation to actually cause a riot in an entire city, and it really happened. So, what can leaders do? let's say you are leader of a particular thing. How can you deal with these kind of unexpected various scenarios? So you'll be surprised. The actual solution that this framework suggests is that it needs to be human centric. So you'll be surprised, how do you do all of these things? We would think we need to get more AI, learn AI, so leaders have to be prepared, everything. No, sometimes the solutions are far simpler. You just need to be a person who understands, who empathizes, who listens to somebody. So it has to be human centric. Approaches are the only ones with the human touch, not AI touch that can. So if you are able to give that psychological safety to your employees or your family, you start practicing empathy, you start practicing mindfulness, you will start practicing a little meditation. You encourage this meditation, you'll be surprised. This is what is actually working in this kind of scenarios. So people who are having better intelligent question, who are calmer, who can actually um, deal with these scenarios in a more calm way are the ones which are really winning. This may be surprising, but the solution is that it has to be more human touch, which seems to be missing from the world right now. And if a person, a leader, is actually able to do this kind of thing, a crisis is definitely a challenge, but it also is an opportunity. So if you are able to do this with a human touch, definitely decision making can be wonderful, and you will be more successful, and you will not be called just a manager, you will be termed as a leader. Thank you. All the best.